So how do we boost our confidence? How do we 10x our confidence through mental fitness? And how do we grow our 3 core muscles of our mind to actually show up with our best self and without that self-doubt, that imposter syndrome kicking in and sabotaging us? Now, let's be clear. You are amazing. You are. I know that you are. Now, I know that there is an 80% probability that you don't really have an idea of how truly magnificent you are. You used to know, though, but you have forgotten. And I'm here to share with you today the science behind how you gradually forgot your true self, your true potential, and how you can rediscover it and unleash an even happier, capable, and confident version of yourself, the true magnificent you. I'm very excited to introduce you to mental fitness, and I really believe that mental fitness is the X factor. Mental fitness is defined as your capacity to respond to life's challenges with a positive rather than a negative mindset. And this is really about creating an operating system that helps us, that supports us, that makes us really show up as our best self. We want to build the building blocks that live in the brain at the root level that enable us to really show up as our best self. So I have been through personally this journey, and I love the fact that in this world of positive intelligence and PQ, they really want you to first go through yourself to feel it. Does it work? Does it not work? What does it work? How does it work? Before, I wouldn't stand here to share it with you if I didn't believe that it was a life-changing, a mind-blowing thing, way better than any other system that I've experienced so far. And I love the fact that it's really science-based. So there's a lot of studies that have been aggregated and conglomerated in the results that I'm sharing with you today. So we're bringing together knowledge of neuroscience, from positive psychology, from cognitive behavioral psychology, and performance science. And in addition to that, there was a specific study done by the Positive Intelligence team that is led by Shazad Shamin, who is a lecturer at Stanford, where really we wanted to understand how does behavior work? How do people sabotage themselves, or what is the correlation between success and your behavior? So what they've done is they observed and did studies on hundreds of people, collecting data, hundreds of CEOs and their executive teams, millions of participants across 50 and plus countries, world-class athlete, to really start looking at the science behind why is 20% only reaching peak performance, and why is 80% of the population not reaching their full potential? What is behind? So I love the fact that this is really based on the science, but also then applied to really observing a real behavior in real people. So what did they do? They took all this data and they ran a factor analysis. Now, factor analysis is a powerful, powerful tool to synthesize and simplify a lot of data. So what we're looking at is we're looking at the root causes of correlation. We're looking at the factors that explain the most variability of the phenomenon we're observing. So in the case of colors, when we run a factor analysis on colors, you will find that there is only 3 colors you need to actually create thousands of different colors. So you don't need a full palette, you just need 3 colors, red, blue, and yellow. And with those 3 colors, you actually really can create a huge amount of colors, because that's really, those 3 are the key to at the root cause of colors. The same applies to this analysis that we've done on people and behavior and their successes. So the results of factor analysis shows that there are not 100 ways in which we're actually sabotaging us. There are only 10 ways. There is 10 negative factors and 5 positive factors that are at the root of emotional intelligence, at the root of soft skills and leadership, but even we're talking about self-confidence, stress management, conflict management, generating trust, etc. So all these, this is what we were looking at. This is the phenomenon, and we looked at the data to understand what are the factors that are driving these behaviors, both on the positive and the negative side, and this is where we identified those key factors. Now, we will talk about a lot of neuroscience here, and so the most important part for me here to understand is that we have these two brains, this negative brain that lives more on the left side of the brain, and this more optimistic and positive and exploring brain, which lives and sits on the right side of the brain. And I really think this is so important to understand that these two brains don't coexist in the same space. So when you are dragged down by pessimism and self-doubt and anxiety and stress, you are in this part of the brain, on the left side. You don't have access directly on this more positive mindset, which is exploring, innovation, empathy, compassion, curiosity, clear-headed action. You don't have access to that if you're staying on the left side. And so there is really this tension between those two parts of the brain. Who is in charge? Which part of the brain is in charge in every moment of your life? So when you're feeling lack of self-confidence, when you're feeling self-doubt, when you're feeling imposter syndrome, we know that the left brain is in charge. And this is so important to understand, because we know that that only one part of the brain can be activated at any given point. And we want to be able to choose which part serves us most, because this part of the brain, this has evolutionary reasons, and it's really important, right? When we were in millions of years ago, when we were escaping danger, and even today when we're escaping danger, this part is really helping us to detect the problem and soon immediately react to that. So this is why this part of the brain is so active. It has made us survive for so many thousands of years. But in some cases, it's not serving us. When we are facing your boss or your meeting and you're not showing up as your best self, if you're letting this part of the brain be in charge, you're not going to be showing up with your best self. You're going to be staying, holding back, and you're not going to be able to really perform at your best self. So we're going to call them the 10 saboteurs and the 5 sage powers. The 10 saboteurs on the left side and the 5 saboteurs on the right side. So intellectually, we all understand that, right? So, this is probably you've read Thinking Fast and Slow, other type of books that talk about these two different brains. So we all understand intellectually. But how do I make it in practice? How do I translate this insight and actually put them in practice so that they serve me? And I don't look back and think, oh yes, I did it again. I sabotage myself again, right? We want to get out of that pattern. We want to go to the root cause. We don't want to just curing the symptoms. We want to really understand, how do I change this mechanism? And this is where mental fitness comes in play. So this is where we have identified these 3 ingredients when it comes to performance and personal achievement and fulfillment. Profound, lasting change in growing your self-confidence will be much more sustained and possible if you build 3 core muscles. These core muscles are the Saboteur Interceptor. You understand, you see that it's coming, you intercept, you stop. You build your self-command muscle, which allows you to neutralize, to ground yourself. And then you can access the sage perspective with the sage powers. It's about fitness of the mind. So you can shift from being self-conscious, insecure, full of self-doubt, feeling imposter, to actually be inspired and engaged and thrive, no matter what life throws at you. These is the 3 muscles we want to build. I'd like to go into greater detail into these 3 things. So the Saboteur Interceptor. Let's start with that. Now, you probably are aware of the inner critic. So we're going to call this first main saboteur that everybody has, the judge, right? You will recognize it as the inner critic that we have. This is the guy or the girl that tells you that you're not good enough. that makes you self-doubt, that makes you feel, clumsy and insecure, even in situations in which otherwise you would be very comfortable. That is really something that we all have. But unfortunately, or fortunately, the judge is more sophisticated than that. The judge has 3 modes in which he shows up in our life. He judges us, and this is mostly the inner critic, but he also, or she, judges others. And the most subtle one is that the judge judges situations and circumstances. And most people don't have idea about the third one. This is basically the sentence in your mind that says, oh, this situation is not good enough. You're going to be happy when. You want to, always renegotiating what you need to reach to be able to feel happy, to feel satisfied, to feel fulfilled, allows you to enjoy the achievements for very shortly before setting a new goal, a new ambition. And now the house and the boat and the trip and the holiday and the family and the husband, right? And the dinner, everything. There is always a negotiation of you will be happy when. So judging circumstances is draining, is exhausting. We never can enjoy the here and now because we're always rushing behind the next glossy, the next shiny things. So the 3 modes of the judge are super important to understand. And this is really about you being discerning when your voice tells you this is a bad thing. Is it really? Is it really bad? Or why am I judging the situation? Because the point is that circumstances are actually neutral. Anything that happens in life is neutral. It's the thought we have about it that loads it with positivity and negativity. We always have a choice. But if we're in default mode, the negative vision and the worry and the anxiety is very often what turns up. Now, the judge not only has these 3 modes, so he's a quite complex character, but it also has some accomplished saboteurs that help him or her do the work, really increase that anxiety and stress and self-doubt that we all have. So this is where the other 9 factors, we talked about 10 factors, right? So we saw the judge, and now we have another 9 factors that are key, actually, that live in this left part of the brain, the key factor that explain the correlation between, lack of performance and behavior. And so there is a science to it. So it's like we're gridding these different saboteurs into motivation and style, but we don't want to get lost into the details here. I just want you to know that there is 9 saboteurs. And these saboteurs are called the controller, the hyperachiever, the restless, the stickler, the pleaser, the hypervigilant, the avoider, the victim, and the hyperrational. Now, don't stress out. We don't have to deal with all of them. Actually, when you do the assessment, if you had done, I put the link to do the assessment, but if you haven't done it, you can do it afterwards. And you will get a chart like this in terms of your results. And what we want to be focusing on is on your top 2 saboteurs, because everything else will be taken care of. And you don't want to be worried also too much about the magnitude of the scale, how close you are to 10, how low you are. It's really more about the priority, the order of appearance. So those are the top saboteurs. And the interesting thing is that the top saboteur are actually leveraging one of your strengths and abusing of it. Now, one of the things so the Saboteur Interceptor is really about knowing what we're dealing with, understanding it, so that you can identify and intercept it every time it turns up. This is why the awareness of which saboteurs are your top saboteur is so important, so it helps you intercept it, because we know that's the first thing we want to develop in terms of the muscle. Now, the question that comes often is, but hold on a second, are negative emotions not good for us? And I am totally for being emotionally empathetic. We definitely want to be tuning into our emotions and understand what's going on. We don't want to be denying emotions, neither positive nor negative. But let me ask you another question. Is pain good for you? Right? Physical pain, think about physical pain. Physical pain is very helpful, but it is an alarm, right? It's a signal. You put the hand on the stove, you're burning yourself, you feel that negative pain, that physical emotion of pain. And what do? You take off the hand. You don't leave it there, right? Why are we keeping the hand on the stove? on this hot stove. When you remain in self-doubt and anger, it's like you're keeping your hand on the stove. So negative emotion, super helpful as an alert. But staying in negative emotion is not serving you. It's holding you back. And also, the saboteur is in charge when you are in negative emotion. We know that. So, yes, the saboteur has helped me succeed, right? This is, we all, before we discovered mental fitness, in most of the cases, that push, right? From you want to be better, you want to strive better, do more, right? It allows us to achieve some success. So the saboteur indeed help us succeed. But we have been to really achieving those successes a huge cost, a huge drainage of self-doubt, of self-belief, exhausted. So I'm telling you that I don't want you to sit on the couch and not do anything. That's absolutely not advocating here. But you want to be looking at success from a perspective of the sage. You want to be pulled by inspiration, right? Inspired by positive emotion coming from within rather than somebody that drags you towards a goal that is never good enough. So experiencing positive emotions, empathy, curiosity, joyful, creativity, all the steps of the way is what we're advocating here. To enjoy the journey. We don't need the negative emotions that are never going to allow us to enjoy and be happy and be fulfilled. We want to achieve success, but we want to do it enjoying the journey on the way. So this is really the first piece. The first muscle is developing the interceptor, the saboteur interceptor muscle. Once we have intercept the saboteur, then is where we want to be neutralizing it. So as said, those two parts the saboteur and sage sits in two parts of the brain. So we can't directly go from positive to negative or negative to positive directly. We have to neutralize it. You intercept and then you neutralize it. How do we do that? Fundamental. Now, before I explain to you the how, I want to really be reinforcing the fact that you are not in charge. Think about, when you are sitting there and you're doing the presentation for the 15 times because your self-doubt is kicking in, because your stickler is telling you that's not good enough. You got to be doing it, stay all night up to redo the work, and it's never good enough. When we have that voice that is nagging us, that's when we know that we're actually not in charge of our mind. Because would we really do that? Would we do that to our friends, to tell them always that thing is bad, that thing is not good enough, the thing is really disappointing, right? Would we do that? Do we do that with our friends, with our family, with our kids? We don't, but we do it with ourselves. That's heavy lifting that we do on ourselves. Is clear signs that actually, unless we practice a different approach, we are not in charge. So I'm introducing here something that is so powerful, which is just a 10-second rep, like you go to the gym, and something you can do throughout any situation, any day. And I'd like to do it here with you right now. So I'd like you to take 2 fingertips and rub them against each other with such attention that you can feel the fingertip bridges on both fingers. Now take all the fingers of one hand and rub them against the fingers and palm of the other hand and feel all those touch sensations. So if we had a camera on your head right now, we would actually see that the left side of the brain, the gray matter here, is getting a little quieter, and the right side is getting more active. This is what we do to ground ourselves, to center, to neutralize that interceptor. 10 seconds, not a lot of time, but it's so powerful. And that's exactly what we're doing, because we want to change habits. Today, an event is occurring, and by default, you're going to go through to the saboteur section. Your synapses will automatically make you go into saboteur, not in every situation, but in most situations of danger, of, you're sitting in this meeting, you can't, you can't, you don't have saliva when you present, or you are, hesitating, and you're feeling self-conscious and not secure, right? So this is exactly what is happening right now to me, right? This is all the synapses that are automatically going to the saboteur. By doing pick your reps, I can neutralize that. I can use that as a hint. All right, I can see that I'm practicing this self-command so that actually I can pause and choose which route do I want to choose. What is most useful right now? To fight or flight? Or is it mostly about being compassionate and empathetic and curious? This is really the fundamental piece of training this self-command muscle. Now, when and if you join the PQ program, we actually have it on the app. So I just need to click on a button, go to the PQ gym, and just have a 2-minute exercise that is guided PQ gym, so that I don't even need to start thinking. But you can do it, of course, also by yourself while walking on the street or sitting here just with me. So that was the second muscle. The third muscle is the sage muscle. And so I wanted to build a self-command muscle, which allows us then to shift from saboteur to sage. So now we're going to look at the sage muscle. Now, the sage lives in the region of the brain, which is associated with positive emotions, peace and calm, clear-headed focus, creativity, big picture. And it really operates from the sage perspective. And the sage perspective tells us that everything can be seen as a gift or an opportunity, everything that happens in our life. And then sometimes, the first reaction to negative things, or to things that we judge as negative, is to, drain ourselves and think, oh, this is really bad. But if we do pick your reps and we access that sage perspective, we can actually see that there is a lot of opportunities for us to see the gift in what just happened. So this is what I want to bring to you. Shift to the sage way of handling situations, circumstances, instead of the saboteur, where open a mind and access that part of your brain in which you can actually have the opportunity to see what is the gift here. And once you have then identified, the gift, you can leverage the sage powers. And the sage powers are empathize, explore, innovate, navigate, and activate. I'm going to just pause for a second. So empathize is about deep acceptance and even love and forgiveness for yourself and others. And this is something that really is the root cause of our self-doubt and our imposter syndrome and our lack of self-confidence, that we don't empathize with ourselves as much as we could. So this is really what we want to nurture, that muscle of sage power of empathize, to help us succeed and help us thrive and not hold us back with self-doubt. Explore is about deep curiosity. Innovate is about how you think out of the box and think about ways that are not obvious. Navigate is driven by a deeper sense of meaning and purpose. It's really our inner compass, and really what we can be guided by. And activate is about being laser focused, even in the middle of deep challenges. The activate power of the sage is about being calm, clear-headed, and laser focused. Your fears as you move into action with a calm, clear-headed, laser focused, fearless, fierce confidence and ability. I love this activate power. These powers go to softer powers, to fierceness. You can be deeply effective. The range available to us when we activate the region of the brain where our sage lives is really amazing, is unlimited. Now, a few questions that I always hear is, which perspective is true? When something happens to you, we can look at it, right? And we can say, oh, this is bad, or this is a gift. So the question is, which perspective is true? And the incredible thing is that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Whichever you believe becomes true, right? There is this beautiful quote from Henry Ford: either you believe that you can, or either you believe you can't. You're right. Whenever we focus our energy, this is exactly what happens. I really think that this is so empowering. Understand how much power we have in the things that happen to us and how we can turn them into gifts if we want to. It's often actually always a choice. The other questions that I often get is it really possible to just shift from saboteur to sage response, even with tough challenges? And the answer is, it really depends on the strength of your mental muscles. This is really like going to the gym. When you go to the gym at the beginning, you can't start lifting a 50-kilo weight, right? Your muscles will be sore, you're going to risk injury. So we want to gradually build that muscle. And the point here is that we want to be patient with ourselves. In the beginning, we'll be able, to start, to have to face small challenges. And what we do also with our mental fitness, we can face normal challenges and get out of them. But if we want to be also in the midst of a crisis, to really being able to look positive and look at the gift and opportunity and access to sage power, that's what we need to build bigger muscles. That's what we need fitness. That's what we need persistence and consistency. We're building a new operating system. I mean, not a new operating system. You have it already in you, but we are building on it. We're building it so that we can really understand and be in control of our mind and make us serve us more than limiting us. So whenever you're feeling negative emotion, like self-doubt, stop. It's your hand on the stove. Listen to your body, listen to that self-doubt, understand it, but don't stay in self-doubt. Take off the hand from the stove. Do pick your reps. Do this rubbing in your hands, of your fingers. There's a lot of others that we will train and teach you. And then think, okay, how can I look at this as a gift and opportunity? And what sage power is it most useful? You don't need all 5 of them all the time. In some cases, you just need one, right? If the house is on fire, you want to activate and start running. So you really want to be adjusting, but you want to be in that clear-headed mind, so you make the long-term decisions for yourself that really serves you, not just short-term, but also long-term. Now, I really want to be emphasizing the fact that I'm sharing this intellectually, right? Intellectually, I'm sure you understand it. This is insights. Intellectually, you understand that. But positive change is about mental muscle. 20% is insight, 80% is mental muscleness. It's about fitness, practice. It's like when you go to the gym, you can't go once and then disappear for the rest of the year from the gym or from your practice. That's not going to be long-term results. The same applies to our head, to our brain. Mental fitness is about consistent, daily, new habits, new routines, new practice. And that's where you can have profound, lasting change. By nurturing your self-confidence, by intercepting your self-doubt, doing pick your reps, and accessing that compassion, that empathy that can make you see all your strengths and lift them up and show up with your best self. So success requires consistent initial practice in the beginning. Studies show that if you're doing this PQ, mental fitness practice, and continuous repetition for the first 6 to 8 weeks, we see that on MRI, your left part of the brain will be a little quieter, but naturally your right brain will be more active. So we're building new neural pathways in your brain with these 6 to 8 weeks practice. And it's actually 15 minutes per day. We're talking about less than 3% of your waking time over the course of a week. So I mentioned that before, only 20% of the people navigate with confidence through the challenges of life and really lift that curiosity, that empathy, that exploration, that navigation powers to get to their peak performance, to get to their well-being, to get to amazing relationship. And I really want you to join this circle. I want you to start understanding that this is the key. Leveraging, building those 3 muscles is going to be blowing your own mind. So the mental fitness program is 6 weeks. 6 weeks plus 1 is actually overall 7 weeks. It started with 1 video, it stops with 1 session and stops with another 7th session. But the training is really about 6 weeks. We have weekly videos, 15 minutes daily practice, and then also reading the book of Positive Intelligence by Shizad Shamin that I mentioned earlier. We will have weekly meetings within a pod, and the pod, we know that it actually increases success rate by 500%. So amazingly important to really build that circle, to meet on a weekly basis. We'll do that on Mondays, where we're going to be sharing insights, and I'll be coaching you to really make sure we're bringing all those learnings to the next level and really make them stick. When you join the PQ program, you actually will have then access to the app 365 days. So you can continue after the 6 weeks, you can continue practice and really continue building that muscle. Because as we said, it's like going to a gym. You don't go for 6 weeks and then you leave it. Now you build the base, and now it's time to continue growing your muscles to really face all the time bigger challenges with more self-confidence and more self-compassion. Now, in the app, I really think what is amazingly powerful is that Shizad Shamin himself every day comes in and gives you a daily tip to, steering, helping you with some challenges and really give you some additional boost. There is also access to a community of other practitioners, which is amazing. And I really think it's a beautiful way of exchanging and finding other people that are on the same journey with you. So the 6 weeks, how they outlined in first week, is about boosting your self-command muscle. This is really the base of you becoming more in control of your own mind. So we want to start by doing PQ reps and practicing PQ reps so that you are actually, get going. Then the second week, we're going to be practicing intercepting your judge saboteur, so the saboteur everybody has. So it's the same for everybody. And then based on your profile, we're going to be going and working on your the third week, we're going to be working on your first top saboteur. So it's after the judge is number 2, but in your 9 saboteur grid is going to be the top saboteur that you have. So we're going to be intercepting that saboteur. And then in week 4, we're going to be working to shift from saboteur to sage. In week 5, we're going to be working on boost one of the most important sage power which is empathize, since we all want to have more empathy for ourselves. So that's really why we're working a specific whole week just on that. And then the next week, we're going to be working on the other sage powers. And then we're going to wrap it up. That's where you can be really seeing like how you can 10x your self-confidence with all the different applications, both work life and private life. And you will be blown away. Now, the requirements is that you actually do the work, because 80% of the benefit will come from your daily app-guided practices. And I've seen people in my same cohort of people that went through the same journey with me, that I was totally committed. I did the 15 minutes. I actually was doing more than 15 minutes per day, because the app, minimum 15 minutes, but actually the gym gives you access to a lot of practices. So I was doing sometimes 30 minutes per day, sometimes 45, sometimes just 15, sometimes not even 15. But I was really committed and I was consistent. And I know that I really got results out of it, way more than the other people that maybe were in my cohort. They were not as committed, they were not as engaged. I could really see the difference between those. So will you do those 15 minutes per day, less than 3% of your weekend time? And also, will you come to the meetings on Mondays? Because as I said before, there is 500% plus impact when you actually have that group of accountability. where you're joining this team and see the successes of others, but see also the failures of others, see the struggles of others, and really feel that community that pulls you to the next level. So you have all the details of applying here on this page. And yes, secure a seat today. Closing of application is this Saturday, so rush. Thank you.